Driving the culture forward. This is HYPEBEAST Radio. I'm your host, Ben Rosen, and today we're sitting down with Havas Chief Creative Officer, founder of the 88, what else? Creative maven, the social entrepreneur himself, Harry B. Bernstein. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Well, I'm better now with that intro. Like I feel like every morning I should record that, and that should be like my alarm to wake up in the morning. So
like a little portable business card.
Yeah,
hand
it
it
just
out
like
to people.
inspires me about me because that's every day. I'm just trying to make it happen. So I need that.
Well, how have you been, man? It's been a minute since we last spoke, hung out, caught up. I remember I saw you at the Beethoven thing, but you were very busy. It's been kind of a busy couple months. You have another kid.
Yes,
that's a huge thing, and then this entire Havas thing. So give us a breakdown. What's been going on for the past couple months?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so September of last year, Havas acquired the 88, making it Annex 88, joining the Annex network that Jason Peterson pioneered out of Chicago first. So we have Atlanta, Chicago, China, and New York now, which is cool. So obviously making that all happen. Then taking the helm here as Chief Creative Officer. So, taking on a lot, new clients, new creatives, new responsibilities. And like you said, Leone Hugh Bernstein was born January 4th. So I had a new son to add to be Lorenzo's brother. And what else? Just making it all happen. I don't know. It's like a blur.
Awesome. And so let's go back, going off a couple of things that you said there. Let's rewind a bit. And let's go back to the genesis of how you started the 88. So what was the inspiration behind the agency at its onset?
I actually have a story, which is good. I started in advertising when I was in high school. So I went to public high school in Queens, and I was like, a very okay student. I would honestly say like a C plus B minus student, like not like, through the roof. And this program came in called City of School where you get to like work instead of going to high school. Simultaneously, one of my art teachers took me to an advertising agency. We had like this class. We would come into the city and like present work. I went to school in Queens. So what I found out was I could actually intern at this ad agency I was going to. So I started interning in like 92 for the last 6 months of high school. So I actually and I learned like it was Quark 1, Photoshop 1. Like I learned all this in like this ad agency. Very traditional clients, super traditional, but like I was exposed super early, and I really it just kind of, like I said, it entered my life through Mr. Tamba's art class in the early 90s, and that was the beginning of it. And then when I graduated from school in late 90s, in 99, started in advertising. Ogilvy Mather, big clients. I worked on IBM. We won Sprite. I worked on Sprite, Motorola. And from there, I went to Berlin Cameron, where I first started working with Jason Peterson, had some cooler clients, worked on Boost Mobile at the time, doing some really cool work on Boost Mobile. Ford, Vitamin Water was a big one. We did all the original Vitamin Water work with 50 Cent. And I did a lot of celebrity endorsed stuff. And celebrities kind of were like this kind of running theme to a lot of my work, which led to me in my moment where I was working on Belvedere, and I just did a spot with Young Jeezy for Boost Mobile, and we were talking about working with him on Belvedere. So I go out to Atlanta, and I'm talking about trying to do a TV spot for Belvedere, and he was basically like, yo, my fans, they're not looking at TV. They're looking at like how I live my life. They're looking at what I eat, what I drink when I'm in the club. They look at what I'm in my videos. Like, it's not about like TV commercials. And, I prided myself on like, being a cultural person, obviously like hanging with, Young Jeezy. Our meeting started at like 10:30 at night, and at Spondivits, which was like, his favorite like fried fish spot in Atlanta. Like, this was my business meeting. So I'm already like not this corporate guy, but I'm like, this guy is just like literally like, it just was like an aha moment. I'm like, why are we making these TV ads to go on TV when like, we're paying these like cultural figures who literally like at that time, if you like walk down the street with Young Jeezy in Atlanta, it's like literally like bringing Jesus in a church. This is like a big deal.
So this was sort of like the genesis, or like the prototype of like influencer marketing in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, this was like, again, so this was, we're talking Jesus. So that was like about
if you're talking about
9 years ago.
If you're talking about the Boost Mobile ads, this is like the where you at campaign,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, where you're at. So we're talking 10 years ago. So then I started looking, I had a lot of friends in skate culture. I started to look at how skateboarders work. So skateboarders, right? Like they get sponsored, they have to like give in content to kind of, they have to win contests and they have to show, give in content. So they kind of have these like content relationships with their sponsors. So I started to look at like skate culture. I have Young Jeezy telling me like, dude, like why are we making commercials? So 8 years ago, bloggers start to pop up. We had Twitter, we had Facebook, we had Tumblr, and we had obviously Blogspot and WordPress. And I'm like, what if a brand just worked with these influencers, right? And like I came from this celebrity culture where like putting celebrities in kind of cool situations. And like I said, on Vitamin Water, it was like 50 Cent, Kelly Clarkson, tons of sports celebrities. I mean, every spot was, Shaquille O'Neal. Like I worked with all like pretty like well-known people across like every kind of thing, besides, like I said, Young Jeezy, Vincent Gallo, I've had the opportunity to work with a ton of different people. So I'm like, what about bloggers? So I found a brand, this Scandinavian vodka who wanted to launch in America. And I'm like, what if we built a site? We made content with bloggers for your site and we did events. Because you're obviously a vodka, so we can do cool events. So that started the agency. That was like my inspiration. I was just psyched about kind of making organic content. The cool thing about being a vodka is like a lifestyle thing. Like everyone celebrates. So it's like if we're doing a Fashion Week event, we're celebrating your collection. If we're out at, Coachella, we're like the pre-party to the thing. Like we always had this moment that was really organic to like work with people, create content, have fun. And it was like, I came from a world where you had like unions and shoots and like this whole like hierarchy to like make, it cost like $1 million to do 30 seconds, where I could just get someone with an SLR at the time, someone who's natural on camera. Dude, we're in Coachella shooting on a pool, the lights, natural light, and just making cool content. And that was the beginning of my venture into kind of creating the 88. And as I evolved, social media evolved, right? Then Instagram launched and blogs, I'm not saying came less possible, but like we became mobile first as the internet came. And I just kind of always was attracted in like, hanging with the people that were like active on these channels. They would work with me, work for me, work with me. So, and I had the agility being a small agency to quickly jump on to things. And, we got Bloomingdale's as a client and CES a couple of years ago. Instagram recognizes as like, best in class, like retail, because we were working, we kind of created a really authentic point of view through Instagram for like Bloomingdale's. And then when Snapchat became popular, we started doing stuff on Snapchat, and we became a creative partner for Snapchat. When
you guys became like one of these, like the Snapchat agency in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was, so it's like, it just have the, the agility and inspiration to kind of capture things. But again, quoting Jason's like, okay, like social media was made by nerds. The reason why you're succeeding is you're social by nature. And like social media is about being social. And like, that is like my line now. It's like, I don't focus on the media part of social media, which is like very dense. And I understand like you can pay to target anyone in the world. I still focus on the social part. And that's what gets me psyched, is that like beyond platform, beyond like, oh, is it a tweet? Is it Snapchat? We post on Snapchat? Is it an Instagram story? Is it like, to me now it really is like the ability for a conversation. Like when something happens in culture that it can like, if you hit the right nerve, that it can just kind of infiltrate your life from so many different places right now, from, your phone to your TV to your computer, like simultaneously. And like, that's what like I'm just obsessed with all the time.
And I think that anybody that's ever visited the Havas offices or the 88 offices downtown as well, like I think they'll kind of see that there is sort of a different office culture in a lot of ways. And a lot of what you just said kind of is part of this bigger philosophy that you're working with, right? Like you said, like you focus on the social part of social media, not the media part. That's for the nerds. Like, but what other sort of like truisms or like what other operating principles are you going by usually? I remember you talked to me once about, what was it? It was you've just got a different approach to things. I think people.
So it's okay. So. Again, in my office, I definitely mix culture. So I definitely work, especially at the Annex. It's like finding people that like are living, breathing the culture in which the brand lives, right? So if it's an Adidas, right, like we have a certain type of person, like, like Nikki, she like worked at opening ceremony, and Philip Lim, like she's kind of like, she is from within the culture of style and fashion in New York. So I bring her on over, and then I pair her with a strategist who came from like Droga, who's like a really great advertising agency. So you have this kind of like best practices of strategy mixed with like, the gut checking of, is this really cool, right? Because like with all the data we have, like you can't measure cool. Like the moral of the story is you can't measure cool. It's still gut. The reason why like Kanye's able to like break the internet all the time is like he's not like looking at his like Google Analytics to figure out like what was his most popular. So like he's like naturally in tune with whatever we want to call the zeitgeist of culture, and he can like spark a flame, and that comes from gut. So you have to find people that have that gut and understand. And my point of view of culture, because things we're going to get into is like I don't only work on Adidas, right? I work on Tailored Brands, which is like Men's Warehouse, which is all this men's business. I work on Bloomingdale's. Here I work on TDA Ameritrade. I'm working on Con Ed. I'm not only but each brand to me has a culture, right? If it's TDA, it's finance culture, which is actually more interesting to me sometimes than streetwear culture, because it's like, money is cool, right? I mean, we all love money. You can buy all the sneakers you want if you have all the money in the world. So I think, and so it's, and what I say culture, how I define a culture is like there's like an ecosystem to a culture, right? So you have usually like a traditional media outlet around culture, right? So if it's, finance, it could be CNN or, Planet Money. Then you have YouTube influencers and podcasts. You have like this kind of like influencer world within it, right? You have, full blown out media outlets dedicated to it. And then you have people talking about it, like everyday people. So there's like a natural ecosystem, just like in streetwear, right? You have your if you're into sneakers, right? You have your hype beasts, right? Then you have your unboxing dudes, and then you have your like local, you have your stores, and you have your just regular kid who's just like hungry and can have 500 followers, but he's just like living and breathing sneakers all the time. So it's like every brand has a culture, and my job is to like, when I'm working on a brand, I try to immerse myself in that culture to get an understanding and how to kind of speak within it. And like a huge thing that's like, that if you kind of get into any trade, it's like, oh, we want to like disrupt. We're disrupting things. We want to disrupt it.
You don't believe, you're not a fan of using the term disruption.
Dude, I just think it's like, I don't want to be disrupted. Like, I don't know. We're too busy. Like, I'm too busy to be disrupted. Like, I want to be inspired. I want to be moved. I want to be motivated. I don't want to be disrupted. The reason I kind of left traditional advertising 8 years ago to kind of get into this world was I worked in a business that people like fast forwarded and passed. Like you changed the channel when the commercials came on. Like I was basically like working on something that no one wanted.
Right.
So what I loved about social media was people would follow and like what I did instead of like DVR me.
Right.
And again, there's obviously great commercials that have transcended culture and change. That's what attracted me originally. But at its core, it's like advertising was in the way of what you wanted.
Yeah, that's why they invented DVR. That's why they invented TV on demand, that whole thing. Fast forward through the commercials. And now, but do you think that now you're kind of battling like with algorithms basically? Because that's what you posted when you posted the photo of Leo. You were like, what, 1% of you are going to, 11% of you are going to see this, and less than 1% of you are going to leave a comment? Yeah,
so you're referring to, I posted a picture of my son the other day, and I was like, I kind of like commented like quickly statistically like how many people are actually going to see the photo of my son and what's the point. And that is my whole thing now. And I always said if I quit my job right now and just went on my own, I would do a documentary on algorithms, because I feel like that drives so much consciously or unconsciously what's going on in our lives. Like you hear it a lot, the echo chamber theory, that if you're only looking on social media, Facebook, which is obviously Instagram, and then you go over to Google, which are two pretty major forces in everyone's lives, whether you realize it or not, is feeding you what they think you like, which again, what originally attracted me to social media is the democratization of this flow that you can like you're jumping in this river that we're all in. And now we have all these like separate rivers, and it kind of like, I personally don't like that. Like, the point that, we're serving this up to make it easier for you. Again, I understand there's certain points where I want to get someplace quicker, and that's what Google's trying to help me with search to get to my place quicker. But I think for a person who's trying to study and understand culture and be well-rounded, I'm fighting it. And then that goes to my other philosophy, which is this like conscious creativity.
Right.
And which again goes completely against disruption. And, anybody who's, my big thing is that I really do think that it's inspiration from within and not out, which can sound like a fortune cookie or some kind of weird like
a Zen koan.
Some sort of like Jedi. I don't look like Yoda, and I don't sound like him, but like I believe in like eating healthy. Meditation's part of my life, and then analog is a huge part of my life. Like analog is all I mean by analog is algorithm proof communication, right? Like listening to an album, like Lorenzo knows how to take an album out of, he's 2 years old. He can take an album out, put it on my record player and fucking press start. And
doesn't
like,
put his fingers on it. He
yeah,
knows what he's doing.
like that is like power. Like, yes, like so quickly he understands how to like zoom through Spotify or he can like search YouTube already, but like I'm trying to keep him away from that. And I think, to get my always thing is getting to the core of things and the source. The source is super important to me. And I think that if you really want to, and my end all goal, I think is meaning. I really look to hopefully, do things that have meaning in my life on a daily basis, the relationships I have with people, and then obviously for the brands, because if you are part of this culture, you have to have a point of view and a meaning into it. And sometimes that meaning could be political. Sometimes that meaning can just be utility. Sometimes that meaning can just be entertainment. But there has to be a meaning that you're bringing to what you do. And this, I think, also applies to what I see on, Instagram every day. People starting clothing lines and starting brands, which I think is awesome. I think go for it. Like, get in the game. Dude, when I was 21 years old, like, to build a website, print a t-shirt, make a pair of jeans, make a lookbook video, shoot a lookbook, like it would have cost you like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like it was insane. Now it's like, dude, like tonight, if you tomorrow there's a new brand and some kid has a which, dude, I'm for it. I'm like, go for it. Like, don't like make things. Like I believe in, like I always say, it's like I do to know and I get paid to know. So I'm very like, drones come out, I'm droning. Photography, I'm taking photos. 3D became popular. I learned how to do 3D. I'm not going to I don't want to be a 3D artist, but I believe in doing to learn and the action experience of doing things to know something so that I can have a point of view on it.
Yeah, and you did that with the 3D modeling thing, like you said. You and Moises did the whole, there was a 3D you on a computer, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, so yeah, Facebook did its talk, what is it, FB, what is it, what's the Facebook
speaker series or whatever.
Yeah, Zuckerberg came out last year and said that augmented reality and VR is the future of Facebook. So instantly at Annex Style, 88 Style, I partnered with Moise and Tom Gall, and we basically 3D scanned everyone in the office and made a dance party so everyone could even if they can't actually program, they experience and they can actually kind of go and interact with themselves in 3D. So we have this whole 88 3D dance party. So it's again, to understand what to do, you have to do it. And that is really core to me with everything I do. I think that's when people just pontificate and philosophize, I think that's great for banter, but I really just go do it. You know?
And I think it also speaks to I think a lot of these profiles that I've read of you or stuff like that, it'll focus on the meditation, on the crystals and the incense stuff, but it is you're saying, it's a means unto an end. You just want people to be more not plugged in, or rather tuned in to creativity, right? Is that sort of the approach?
Yeah. So here's the thing. So disruption, I get it. I live through, I understand punk rock, I understand to change a certain thing, you need to go against the grain. But my point right now is the grain is so powerful, right? The grain being that when you wake up in the morning, you have 1 million Instagram stories, 1 million Instagram posts, tweets happening, Facebook posts. And then if you work at a company that has a Slack and Asana, email, I don't know how many text messages, right? You're immersed. The grain is dude, the river of information is against you from the second you wake up and everywhere you go. And if you can't digest and absorb and have your own, this is the contract. It's if you can't come from within, you're just following. Yeah. And that to me is that's the ultimate meaningless, right? Acting without understanding what you're doing. Yeah. So the unplugging, right? The analogness, the taking time to just meditation for me is my teacher, I read a quote from recently. He goes, in the 70s, people came to me for enlightenment. Now they come to me for relief, because it's just we are immersed, dude, when I was younger, you had to wait for a television show to start. Right. Netflix, it's the whole series. It's it's all there, boom, at a flick of a switch. So it's
practically downloaded in your head at this point. You just end up watching a whole show in the minimum amount of time without any stopping for food.
Yeah, and it's you don't have to. Yeah, so it's I think you have to make that time to to find yourself, to find your point of view into what's going on.
How much do you meditate per day? Is it
I do twice a day.
Okay, so it's kind of a morning and night thing, or
yeah. It's a morning and midday thing. And at the agency here, we built a room to meditate, and so I take time at the annex. We use one of our rooms in the back, and it's not I don't like say there's a particular style you should be doing. I kind of keep it open. Some people do headspace. Some people do their certain style. Some people even take a nap. But it's like we have like a half-hour time where we stop what we're doing, lights off, phones off, and you kind of we start together, and then you can leave whenever you're done. So some people say that's a whole half hour. Some people say 15 minutes. But I think it's about that's another thing I always talk about is work-life integration. Like
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. So what's the difference between integration versus the balance?
Well, balance is your giving and taking.
Right.
And I think the problem being a New Yorker, living in New York, working in the media is that like, I don't want to give up anything. And I feel like you have to learn to find your time in your day to do these things with your work to feel motivated and inspired because you have to be so immersed in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the example of having a yoga room here. We have an analog room with some records and some books, right? Like, which we're building out a whole library there. We have a farmer's market every Wednesday, so you can get get your week's vegetables from work. You don't have to like be like, oh fuck, I missed the farmer's market Saturday. How am I going to get it? Like, it's my job as a leader to like make these things easy for you. At Annex at Annex we have night classes or we do offsites. So like when a show opens at the MoMA, when something's going on, we always get we get a bunch of tickets. We get some cars to go, and we always. I have to like work with you to make this place kind of holistic. You know what I mean? It has to be. I can't just ask to take from your life. I need to give back from your life, and it has to be reciprocal. So I think, the work-life integration thing is how I do it. So I'm, again, I'm practicing what I preach, but also offer that to you. And, we also exercise, I think exercise is important. I do exercise, but we had 88 Fit for a while, which was like Adam, our producer, who's a triathlete. Adam Copeland, shout out, Robe Trotter, the Robe Trotter, aka Adam Copeland. He was doing we were doing runs, we were doing some soul cycle things. So I definitely think exercise too is super important. But I think that thing I feel like is like you kind of do at your own accord. I think the meditation, like anyone can meditate, tall, short, whatever. Eating vegetables, like I'm not even saying you should be a vegetarian or not. I just think starting if you like to have a good steak, go for it. But like you need some really organic green vegetables in your life. It's proof. I mean, your pineal gland, aka the third eye, it's scientifically proven like that creativity comes from a part of physically in your body, and that thing can be tuned to work better. And it's proven for a fact. It's like sunlight, getting some sunlight on yourself, some vitamin D in there. Getting your greens in there, getting green vegetables, it helps to kind of clear the flow. And not only is the flow coming so quickly and intensely, the expectation is beyond, just like when I was younger, I didn't have everything at demand. The demand on you as a creative wasn't, you didn't have the ability to do as much, but the demand wasn't as much. So if you want to rise up to the occasion and to like, in the end, I don't care how talented you are, how smart you are, how creative you are. You have to work hard, and you have to. The hustle is. Every successful person has worked really fucking hard to get there, and time, energy, focus, like all that stuff is your advantage. So the base of being like, Kobe Bryant, I worked with him back in the day on Sprite. We did a whole thing on high school. They're like, oh, dude, Kobe was always super great at basketball. Like that was not a question. But that dude was there every fucking morning before practice. He was there after practice. Like he took his natural talent and enticed it with hard fucking work.
Right.
So my thing is like, I guess you could say meditating isn't hard work because you're sitting still, but the point of, putting the work to enhance your natural talents is what I firmly believe.
Putting practice in, maybe. That might be a better word than work. So what is your daily, a lot of people, I'm assuming when they hear the term like chief creative officer, that's like a dream job. So what is the day-to-day, besides the twice a day meditation and the farmer's market, what does your day-to-day consist of?
That's the other part. I have to be on. So I live and die by my calendar. It's like, shout out to Arin, my assistant, who just basically like, I usually start at like 8. I like to do breakfast. I go to Bubby's a lot, which is down the block. I either do it alone or I actually start with a meeting with someone, and then I'm going right in. And my there is, structural stuff I have to do. Obviously, managing a lot of people. There's like, it's a good group of people, and then reviewing work. I'm basically approving briefs. So before we go into work, Sophie on strategy and Anne and my team are making briefs. So we get into the brief, we kick off a project, have a brainstorm, the teams go off. I'm lucky to have amazing people that work with me. And then I'm reviewing work, and I have to like land, I'm basically like, I'm kind of taking off and landing is my job, right? So takeoff is the brief, which I have to kind of like make sure that we're like on track. And then the flying is everyone else, right? They're flying, they're making the work, they're I'm feeding in reference, I'm feeding in kind of inspire. And then I help land it, which means if I do my job right, I'm bringing it all together, and I'm making the great work that I'm getting like epic, and recognizing the strengths of the people that I work with. And then the other part is clients. I'm in a client service business, which means I have clients. So I work with my clients to really understand what they need for their business, for their products to engage their consumers. And I'm making sure to have a relationship with them where I can clearly understand them and translate that to the creative teams. And this is the interesting thing about, advertising and marketing is I think clients are creative in their own way, but they're not creatives. Mm-hmm. And then you have creatives, right? And you have these two different ways of thinking about the world.
Schools of thought.
Yeah, total schools of thought, which have their powers, right? Like you're looking at numbers and, how's my product doing? And maybe I should evolve the actual product to make the product better. And then you have these creatives thinking of how to work with influencers, social campaigns, TV ads, outdoor campaigns, radio ads, voice, right? Alexa voice campaigns. Like, how does it show up on Alexa now that everyone has one at home? Like, they're thinking that stuff, and I'm along with other creators, the bridge between those two worlds. And I need to make sure that we're not going so far creatively. The client's like, whoa, this is like a different language. Yeah. Like you just went to another planet. And I've been lucky to have, really, I have to have trust from both sides. My creative team needs to trust me, and then my client needs to trust me. And that's where I've been really fortunate to do some cool work, with Adidas and with tailored brands and with Bloomingdale's. And then, obviously all my Havas clients, I've just began, so I don't have case studies to share yet, but I have a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline coming from them. And to me, cool work is, I think work that gives the brands I work with a voice in the culture they belong.
This is hypey, so I would be in trouble if I didn't ask about this, but I saw this Yeezy Season 6 campaign that came out yesterday/today.
I didn't do it.
See,
of course.
That was the first thing.
No, I didn't do it. I never take rule number one. If people know me, I never take credit for things I don't do. I didn't do.
But your fingerprints seem to be kind of over it in a sense where it's like, these are influencers. It's a whole bunch of copycats. And I just wanted to kind of get your thought, because it definitely it beat the algorithm. Everybody saw it.
Oh my God. Well, Kim and like I said, Kim and Kanye, they're just like if algorithm was like a religion, they're the messiahs, right? I mean, they've kind of transcended the algorithm, right? Like anything they touch, that's their gift. Like they instinctually, essentially instinctually can is algorithm proof, right?
Yeah, game the system.
But I think it's almost beyond it, because I don't think it's they're beyond the system, and the system they've been able kind of, like I said, it's if they're a messiah, it's almost like they can control the system instead of being controlled by it. But it is it's so funny you say that. I literally last night was texting with Sophie, my strategist, and I was like, fuck, this is so good. So our whole philosophy early on, I did not tell this to Kanye or Kim or to the Yeezy team. This is, obviously other people figure out along the way, but the idea—
Great minds think alike. We'll put it like that.
That's a nice way. Was, okay, you create something that people want and you have hype around it, and then you create a social behavior that people want to emulate to basically speak out your brand for you, right? That is a good social media campaign for me. It's not just about doing a funny video. It's basically creating a behavior of how your brand should show up on social, right? So you guys, essentials, flat lays. Flat lays was a way to show things in every fashion, so it became this way to show your brand, right? And obviously my Calvin's, right? Taking a picture, showing you an edge of, creating a behavior that you can do on social. And this was exactly that on crack. Exactly like you. It's last night, my fiance Allie wasn't feeling well, so I was on double baby duty. I got Lorenzo to sleep. I finally get Leo to sleep. Getting a 4-week-old to sleep is not easy. and I just open up the gram, and I literally like I have that new app that measures how much time you spend on your phone, and I honestly don't spend a lot of my time on my phone. It's called like I'll look it up at Moment, I think it's called.
Moment? Okay.
It measures how much time you spend on your phone a day, and you can actually set a timer to limit your phone time. So I honestly maybe spend an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half a day on my phone. I'm in the world active. I was on that for like, and it hit me like 11 o'clock last night, the wave of like one post. It was, my friend Amanda from Miami, she works with a blogger in Miami. I saw her, she shouted out first. Then I went to that person. Then I went into the hashtag. Then I went to Kim. And then I saw those twins were doing it. And I just was like, I was in a hole for like.
Everybody did it, yeah.
I was in a hole for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, Sophie, this is like happening now. It's like, Allie grew up in Hawaii. My fiance, she's a surfer. It was like a wave. I was like, oh my God. Like the wave is just like, it's just watching it form. And I was in awe of it. I was just like super, it blew me away.
And talk about like kind of like upending that influencer thing that I think you probably had to talk with clients about for the longest time by literally just being like, look, everybody pays you for your look, your lifestyle or whatever. We're going to get you to dress like my wife for one photo.
Oh my God. And again, the original photo was awesome. But there was also elements beyond that, right? The collection looks cool. She looks like, again, that's what I mean. It's like, it's not, the gaming of it is like, there's a lot of elements before the actual wave has to happen, where it's like, you have to have great product. You have to like have great timing. And then again, like I said, they are, the Kardashians and Kanye, like they like,
it's a perfect storm.
They've transcended the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like anything, like they can like,
and like they can work it. Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And since you mentioned the Zuckerberg thing, we talked about the virtual reality. I guess a good question to end on would be, for anybody out here that's kind of like getting into advertising and marketing, what's the next thing? What should they like kind of like get into? What should they do that was like the 3D rendering, like the drone, like the...
So that's my whole thing. My philosophy, and someone one day was like, oh, dude, how are you a futurist? I'm like, I'm actually like a nowist. Like, shout out to Ram Dass, be here now. If no one knows Ram Dass, look it up. Like his whole thing was be here now. Like it's actually my thing is like to be doing and creating and engaging always, because it's happening now, right? And right now is voice, which voice is in marketing world is the big thing, because this Christmas 1 million Alexas were kind of bought, and Google, not 1 million, millions of Alexas and millions of Google Homes. So voice is the big trend, and how do you engage through voice? And my car has voice, like everything's gonna have voice. So I think that's like kind of a trend. So obviously I'm talking right now, so I'm doing the voice thing. But I think it's more about like if you're an active creator, you're connecting the internet, because you are, and you're taking time to absorb and have your point of view into it, you will be, and I think also, as much as I'm saying do everything, like find your lane within that, right?
And focus.
Is it fashion? Is it sports? Is it finance? Like, I think, like I said, find the culture. Is it food? Is it fitness? Like, have at least like an area in which you're playing, and then within that, even if you're not going to take photos, make some videos. Do a podcast, like make a t-shirt, like make a hat, make a yoga mat, like, get involved in the making of things, and you will be, because right now, like I said, the channels are going to evolve a lot slower than they used to, because now they're publicly owned, right? So our biggest players are publicly owned. So startups move at a much faster rate of evolution than a publicly owned company. So our Facebooks or Instagrams or Snap, they're going to roll things out at not at such a quick pace. Facebook is at such scale, like, the one game I'm not in is making an app right now. Like if I made an app that did something really unique, like the scale of Facebook right now is they could roll it out, and basically as many users I made that I thought was a lot of users, they can trump me in in the flip of a switch. So I'm not making an app. Obviously I'm obsessed with Ethereum and what's going on in the cryptocurrency, not from an investment make money world, but like there's such really interesting thing with with contracting, where you can like, there's real, conceptually, that's like my hobby. That's where I kind of play.
Right.
I'm not like, oh my God, I invested this in the rising Bitcoin. I just made like this much money. More from a way of a different way of the internet. I think that is super interesting, and I spend a lot of time researching and reading that. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there. But it's really, to me, it's like, how do you find yourself being able to digest what's going on, but still keeping your own point of view and know what you mean in this whole conversation is the most important and the hardest thing to do, right? It's like, how do you kind of be here?
Yeah, be here and stay present despite the algorithms, basically.
Yeah. What do you think is going? I mean, you're out there, you're here, you're there.
I mean, I'm a lot of the stuff that you just said. I mean, I'm big into. I like the crypto thing for the same reason you said. Like, I'm not really into the profiteering aspect. I think that the accountability, the blockchain as like a piece of technology is pretty awesome. I'm very, yeah. That's probably the bigger future thing. Just kind of like reading up on that and making sure that people aren't just using it like an online casino. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's like the ultimate. It's the easy way in. Is to be like, here's $150, put it on something, and if I make $200, I'll be set. But like you said, if you research it, if you're actually looking at the technology and the philosophy, more importantly, that kind of underlies it, I think that would be kind of the way forward, because that's really where it opens your eyes up. Like, my brother is the type of person that started talking about it, and I was like, listen, man, if you're just trying to get me to buy like, $500 worth of Ethereum, like, it's not going to happen. Yeah. But he was like, no, not that. Like, and he sent me like Dragon Chain, he sent me V Chain, he sent me like all of these examples. He was like, no, these are all going to change the way that we do business, whatever. And that was really the eye-opening moment for me.
Yeah, no, mine was, so there's a browser, the Brave browser, which basically blocks advertising, and the way to actually engage with people through this browser is through an actual currency called attention. So it's like, it's measuring your attention so that you have, as an influencer, as a brand, as a viewer, you can have an exchange over, instead of just... And
you get attention if people are looking at your stuff? Yeah, so
attention is a currency that's built on Ethereum that goes through the Brave browser. So I'm like, do I own Brave? Do I own any stock in Brave? No. Do I own any attention? Do I own Ethereum? No, but watching this go down as a theory is really interesting, that like, it's breaking down the way we use the internet in a different way, and that gets me super, super excited and super. And then my flip side, like I said, another thing I would do if I could do anything right now, internet rehab.
Yeah, internet rehab.
I would build, dude, someone's going to steal it. I'm putting it out to the world. Go for it. An internet rehab. Like, I just think that's going to be the next, that's the future is internet rehab.
That's perfect. It's like tune in, turn on, log out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for your time, man. Really, this is fantastic. As always, open invitation if you want to come back and talk again.
Cool. No, it was super fun.
And thank you for having us in the office. It was fantastic.
Great to have you guys. Thank you, everybody.